Farage.
Well, thank you, Donald. Good evening, everybody. Well, since I was last with you, of course, the Sir Oliver Letwin Amendment went through, and that means Parliament is taking control of this process. And tomorrow, there are going to be somewhere between 4 and 7 options for what MPs want from Brexit for them to vote on. And rather than going through the lobbies, as is traditional, they're going to be filling in pink slips, is what we understand at this stage. They will then whittle down the numbers and come back on the 1st of April and vote again. It is all by Sir Oliver Letwin, an attempt to try to soften Brexit as much as they possibly can. And it's been a day of twists and turns in the whole Brexit debate. Some potentially good news for the Prime Minister this morning was when Jacob Rees-Mogg really surprised everybody, I think, because he'd said a couple of days ago that he would take his lead from the DUP. But today we saw a change of position. This was Jacob talking this morning.
But I've always thought that no deal is better than Mrs May's deal, but Mrs May's deal is better than not leaving at all. And so there is a sort of hierarchy of choice. Inevitably, leaving the European Union, even leaving it inadequately and having work to do afterwards, is better than not leaving at all.
Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jacob Rees-Mogg, as many of you know, but I don't think that's the choice. I mean, we're not talking here about revoking Article 50. We're talking here about an extension of Article 50, a later date at which we're due to leave. Anyway, that did surprise people. And in the backdrop to all of this is the fact that, and the reason Jacob's saying this, is that yesterday, effectively, the Prime Minister completely ruled out us leaving on no deal, us leaving on WTO terms. There's still a faint chance that the European Union would veto any extension, but let's be honest, I don't really think that's going to happen. So if no deal is off the table, I have to say how hugely disappointed I am, because on the front page of today's newspapers, a Comres poll showing 41% want to leave on Friday with a no deal against 28% who would favour an extension. Take out the don't knows, and that 60% plays 40%. There is now a large, clear, consistent majority, growing consistent majority in this country that want to leave on no deal, and yet the Prime Minister has pretty much ruled it out. So the speculation this morning was, well, if Jacob's changed his tune, does she actually now have a chance of getting this withdrawal treaty through? Well, those hopes did not last very long, because the DUP have spoken. Sammy Wilson, writing a piece that was published this afternoon on the Telegraph Online, said that actually the withdrawal agreement itself means no Brexit. It ensures the EU has legal power to prevent us ever leaving except on their draconian terms. And he surprises everybody by going on to say that actually he thinks if we're forced into a 1-year extension, at least we could have a say on things that affect us during that time and would have the right to unilaterally decide to leave at the end of that period. Surely this, he argues, is a better strategy than volunteering to be locked into the prison of the withdrawal deal with the cell door key in the pocket of Mr. Barnier. Wow, that is pretty strong stuff. And I have to say, and I've never said this before, because I have been pushing hard for us to have a clean Brexit, but if it is off the table, if it's completely off the table, then what would I prefer? Would I prefer Mrs May's withdrawal treaty or an extension? Well, I have to tell you tonight, I would prefer an extension. Why? It gives us a chance to press the reset button. It gives us a chance to get a new pro-Brexit Prime Minister. It gives us a chance to completely change the entire negotiation with Brussels and to go back to seeking just a free trade deal and nothing else. And it would give us the chance, if that Prime Minister couldn't get far with Brussels, they could hold a general election and just look at the polling. If they held a general election, saying they go for a clean break, they'd win and we'd be out. So I think for every reason now, an extension is better than this treaty. It pains me to say that, but I do actually believe it. So you tell me, LBC listeners and callers, is a long extension preferable to this withdrawal treaty. And if you think, as I'm beginning to think, and Sammy Wilson's beginning to think, that it is now the best hope Brexiteers have, please call 0345 6060 973. Maybe, like Jacob, you don't trust it because you think in the end it could lead either to a very soft Brexit or perhaps no Brexit at all. Text to 84850 and tell me, who's right today? Jacob Rees-Mogg or the DUP? Please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC, and of course, Facebookers. You can watch us from here in the European Parliament and comment there too. And I will be at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning in the chamber with Messrs Tusk and Juncker. So much for me to look forward to. So tell me, is extension preferable to this withdrawal treaty if no deal's been ruled out? Carl is a first-time caller from Salisbury. Welcome, Carl.
Welcome. Hello there, Nigel. Big fan of yours, been for many years. I'd just like to say I'm with yourself. I'd rather take a long extension than accept this treaty that's been put forward by the EU for Mrs May. I'm absolutely... it just really upsets me to see so many young people getting whipped up into such a state. They don't... I'm not sure they actually know what they're voting for. I've 22 years in the military, and this is the same government that see fit to send me to war zones, yet they don't respect my vote at the ballot box. I'm really, 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 really angry with it. And a quick question for you, Nigel, and I know people will say, this will never happen, but doesn't the Queen, as the head of state, isn't she responsible for overseeing any international treaty or withdrawal from any international treaty? She ultimately heads up the government. She has to sign it.
She has to give assent, yeah. It's
my understanding that if there's... I honestly think this could lead to civil unrest in the future. I really do. I think there's some way from that, but I don't think... honestly, I really don't think we're far off. And if that's the case, does she not have a... I know the last time she spoke up was 300 years ago, but she... and I know it's been mooted as well that she potentially is a Brexiteer in her own right, but that's
Carl,
a moot point, obviously.
She has her weekly meetings. She has her weekly meetings, of course, with the Prime Minister, and they are confidential. She has to give her assent to various things. And if in the next 2 weeks, the government was brought down by a motion of no confidence, she would in fact have a say during the next 14-day period as to who the next Prime Minister was. So, Carl, conceivably, she could be dragged into this. Your point about young people being whipped up. I had a youngster call, a 16-year-old call from East London on Sunday, Carl, who was vehemently anti-Brexit on the basis that the medicines he was taking would not come into the country under a no-deal Brexit. And I'm really very, very agitated, very upset, young caller. And I explained, that the pharmaceutical industry, the medical association have all said there's no threat. But this is what people are being told. Project Fear doesn't work with all of us, but it's frightening some people, Carl, isn't it?
Well, it's frightening a lot of people. My wife works in the NHS. She's worked in the NHS for many years, and she herself voted to leave. And she says it really has been blown out of all proportion. There really is. I mean, it's media. It's just me. The media's gone crazy. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
It's hysterical.
Some of these stories that you hear. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No.
Obviously, that was the question really about the Queen. Is that because we have
democratic
it's my understanding that she should make sure the will of the people is enacted.
At some point,
she doesn't get involved. Historically, the last time was 300 years ago, but it may come to a point where she might have a say. I just don't know.
If Mrs May gets brought down within the next 2 weeks, the Queen will have a role. Of that, there is no doubt. Carl, thank you very much indeed. Dean says, why is everyone saying we must take what we can get? We fought this long and hard. We should be leaving. WTO, leave now. Dean, there's a big majority of you that want that. I want that. But what I'm debating tonight is if this government and Parliament have completely taken that option off the table, what is the next choice? What is the next bad choice? Is it an extension or is it accepting this treaty? Jeff in Manchester, again, somebody else who's furious. The government I voted in and the referendum results I voted for meant nothing. Parliament has stolen my vote and my voice. Gosh, people are very, very angry. Damien in Ealing is a first-time caller. Good evening, Damien.
Good evening, Nigel. It's a genuine honour to speak to you.
Well, thank you. So if we are in this bad position, as leavers, and please ring and tell me what you think, but if as leavers we're in a bad position, who's right here? Jacob Rees-Mogg or Sammy Wilson?
Well, the DUP are right in the sense that this whole backstop's a nonsense from the start. The free movement area predates the EU, Schengen area even, and it will outlast the EU, I think, at this rate. There's no way that the Irish government was ever going to implement a hard border. And if the UK wasn't going to do it either, what were the EU going to do? Rustle up an army and shove it over there? I don't think so.
Well, or get Donald Trump over to build a wall. No, Damien, I agree with you. The whole thing's been a hoax. We've had, as you quite rightly say, a common travel area for a very, very long time. The Republic of Ireland is not in the Schengen zone. But the thing that really got me yesterday, Damien, was when they said if there is a no-deal WTO exit, there'll be no border. So what the hell was the backstop about in the first place?
Well, it's about keeping us under the thumb of the EU. But I mean, as for this choice that you're putting up tonight, well, it's got to be the extension. If it's between the devil and the hard place, then you go with the one that leaves the options open at least. But I have to agree with Carl. I think there's a great danger here that's being overlooked, and that's the fact that a lot of people's democratic votes have been stolen. It's democratic theft we're witnessing here. And if people lose their voice, then the options that they have become very limited. And, civil unrest, they're inviting it.
Well, Damien, all I can tell you is that I will do whatever I can to discourage civil unrest by making sure people have got things to vote for and things to support. Damien, I thank you for your call. Kevin in Reigate says, DUP, spot on. Without a decent new leader, not one of the current front bench, the Tories will be a minority party in Parliament after the next election. Yvette in Nottingham says, totally agree with you. Once May's treaty is approved, we're sunk. Tied forever, potentially, to the EU. Agree. 1 year extension preferable to May's treacherous no Brexit treaty. Well, got some news for you. Sammy Wilson is coming on the show. I'm going to ask him the questions that need to be asked. He may even, if we push him, take a call or two from you. But for the moment, you're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:15 and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
MPs are to put forward their favoured Brexit options for debate tomorrow after voting last night to let Parliament take control of the process. Lawyers for US actor Jussie Smollett say charges alleging the Empire star lied to police about a racist and homophobic attack in Chicago have been dropped. A man convicted of killing a woman during their first date on the River Thames in 2015 has agreed to be extradited back to the UK from Georgia. LBC weather, cloudy skies tonight for many places with rain continuing in northwest Scotland, clearer over the south, a low of -1.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Knight, and the clockwise M25 is shut from 28 at the A12 to 29 for the A127 after a serious accident. It's solid back past the M11 at 27. The M11, the A12, the North Circular, A13 and the A127 are all at a standstill. Anti-clockwise, it's slow from junction 2 at the A2. Now, elsewhere, there's been another accident clockwise at 18 at Chorley Wood. All traffic's being held. The A414 is blocked between the M11 at junction 7 for Harlow and the 4-1 roundabout at Ongar with another accident. It was already slow there anyway because traffic was avoiding the M25. Queues out of town on the A12 towards another accident before the Green Man Tunnel at Leytonstone, and the North Circular is shut both ways from Ealing Common to Pope's Lane at Gunnersbury Park for waterworks.
This is LBC.
Most productive way to travel? Richard Percy, CEO of Safe2Net, takes the train.
If I'm on a train in particular, I always book my seat in advance, which means I can actually relax and think about what it is that I'm trying to do. I actually find it the most rewarding time in terms of productivity.
Arrive ready for business with Great Western Railway, who offer free Wi-Fi on board most services. To find out more and for your chance to win a business bundle, including a laptop and smartwatch, visit lbc.co.uk.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
From the 8th of April, London's new ultra-low emission zone charge will come into effect. Don't get caught out. Get your Euro 6 low emission van from Vanwise today. 3 superstores with up to 800 vans in stock. Just minutes from the M25. All vans receive a comprehensive 112-point pre-delivery inspection. And you could drive away today from just £99 a month. Buy Wise, DriveWise, VanWise. Find your next van at vanwisegroup.com.
Highways England is here to improve your journey. Have you noticed the variable speed limits on the motorway? They're there to manage congestion, so you can have a smoother journey. They're also the law, so if you ignore them and get caught, you can expect a speeding ticket and penalty points. So if you see a speed limit next time you're on the motorway, it matters that you drive within it. For more information on variable speed limits, search online for smart motorways.
Buying workshop delights and travelling to meetings off-site. The client wants lobster for tea, and then there's a conference across the sea. Fancy client biscuits, last-minute train tickets, light bulbs, booking flights, meeting snacks, black cabs. You do the maths. Say hello to Soldo. All expenses paid. Prepaid business expense cards for you and your team, so no one has to spend their own money at work. And Soldo connects seamlessly with Xero. A win-win for you and your business. Find out more at soldo.com.
Have you had an operation that has left you with persistent pain around the healed scar? You may feel this pain as burning, aching, shooting, throbbing, or stabbing. At St Pancras Clinical Research, we're looking at a new potential treatment for this pain, which we apply topically. The study will take place in London, and if you volunteer, you'll be paid for your time and reasonable expenses. Find out more at stpancrasclinicalresearch.com. That's stpancrasclinicalresearch.com.
The world's longest wedding dress had a train that stretched for 5 miles. Pity the poor Page boys. For a frock, that's big. But it's not Euro Millions big. This Tuesday, it's a colossal £32 million jackpot. Euro Millions, amazing starts here.
Estimated jackpot rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
I know who Charlene married. I know what a flux capacitor does. I know how to write hello on a calculator. And I know how to do the big fish, little fish. But I don't know my state pension.
Find out more about your state pension and how much it should be. Get to know your pension. Visit yourpension.gov.uk.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg. The Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Well, we're still waiting to get Sammy Wilson, the DUP's Brexit spokesman, on the line. He's promised us that he will. I know he's busy because what he said today is very, very strong stuff. He has described Mrs May's withdrawal treaty to being locked in a prison with the cell door key in the pocket of Michel Barnier. You don't get stronger than that. The DUP have said they'd rather have an extension of a year than accept this treaty. And I have to say, I'm with them if no deal is genuinely been taken off the table by the Prime Minister, which I regret bitterly to say that appears to be the case. Tina in Bishop Stortford, somebody else is very angry. She says, I agree with a long extension rather than May's treaty. I feel totally betrayed by these politicians. My faith in democracy is gone. And I talked about that polling that was out overnight. Well, another poll suggesting 55% of respondents saying they thought MPs were trying to frustrate the will of the people, with only 19% saying that they weren't. So we really have got some massive problems here. Please, someone tell me that Mrs May's new European treaty is better than extension. 0345 6060 973. Matthew says, I only want an extension if we can hold an election and kick out our current flock of disgraced MPs from Parliament. No deal is better than May's deal. Well, I agree with that, Matthew, but at the moment, Parliament is not going to deliver that to us, I'm afraid. Although talk of a general election is getting greater. Talk that maybe Mrs May could be brought down by a motion of confidence next week. That's getting greater too. But for the moment, I want to discuss this principle. Is it her treaty? Is it extension? Is Sammy Wilson right? Is Jacob Rees-Mogg right to say, actually, if we don't sign up for this treaty, we may get no Brexit at all? What do you think? What does Mark in Milton Keynes, a new caller, think? Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Nigel. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Not at all. So what's your view?
My view is that an extension is the lesser of two evils. I have to say I don't think, I have absolutely no faith whatsoever that Brexit is going to happen, and I voted Leave, and what's happened throughout this entire process has only reaffirmed my thoughts and my position on voting Leave. I'm an absolute. I cannot believe what's happened. I think it's absolutely disgusting. I've got no faith in our politicians whatsoever. There's a few in Parliament who I do think are fighting for the will of the people. But one point I did want to make, which I think is I don't believe any callers made so far recently, is when Tony Blair, just before his second landslide election win, he did say that if we was to get another landslide, we'd kill off right-wing politics for good. Well, I think it has now gone beyond Brexit, and I think that if Brexit doesn't happen, it will give a complete rebirth to right-wing politics again. And I think you need to get your party up and running, you need good people in, so that we can vote for you, and then the Tories will lose 4 to 10 million votes at the next general election. We need somebody who's going to represent the will of the people and not fob us off and say, we know better what's good for you. I am absolutely disgusted with our Parliament.
Yeah,
And
well, Mark, I have to say, you've put that extremely well. I think there is a huge gap potentially opening up here in the political market because what the political class want and what ordinary people want have never, ever been further apart. But you say, it's quite interesting, you know, you voted Brexit, you can't believe what's happened. Are you one of those, Mark, who, if, let's say there was a second referendum, would you go out and vote Brexit again, or would you say, what's the point?
No, you'd have to. You couldn't, because you can't let these people win.
Okay, so
you've got to. The only wouldn't is if they said, "Okay, you have May's deal or Remain."
Oh yeah, well that would be hopeless. Mark, I'm going to love you and leave you because your line is cracking to pieces. Let's go to Chelmsford and speak to Lorraine. Good evening, Lorraine.
Good evening, Nigel. Firstly, can I tell you what I think is happening with Jacob and also some of the other ERG lot?
Yeah, do.
And also, then I've got a little point that I want to tell you and other people to give Leavers a bit of hope.
All right.
Firstly, I think with Jacob and the other ERGers, they are desperate to say that the Conservative Party actually got us out, even if it is, you know, Mrs May's internationally legal agreement, which is what it is, even though it isn't leaving. They are absolutely dreading that if the Conservatives don't get us out, then we can all say, well, you never did what you was, you know, we voted for you to do, to take us out.
Lorraine, so I think you're 100% right. I think this is about saving the Conservative Party. That, I think, is the higher priority. No, I'm absolutely with you on that. And I have spoken to one or two very senior Conservatives, Lorraine, in the last week, who say, oh, well, yeah, but if we get extension, that could be a disaster for the party. Well, I couldn't give a damn about their party. What I care about, actually, is the bond of trust that should exist between our leaders and the people. No, I agree with you on that. What's your next point, Lorraine?
Right, there is the chairman of the English Democrats. He's also a solicitor. He has actually come up with a legal challenge about the date of Article 50 and leaving on the 29th of 3rd. He's actually got...
Yeah, I've seen this, Lorraine. I have, and there is a legal challenge, and Bill Cash is also looking at a legal challenge, and they're suggesting the way in which Article 50 has been extended is unconstitutional and unlawful. Lorraine, I, over the last 25 years, have seen lots and lots of people putting forward legal challenges, telling me what the government's doing is unconstitutional and is illegal. But to go for a legal challenge presupposes the independence of our judiciary, and I'm just not sure, Lorraine, it's a fruitful path.
Well, I honestly think that they would rather us take this deal so that the Conservative Party saves face. I would rather us not leave at all so we can keep on the battle.
Well, Lorraine, I tell you what, we're not talking here about revoking Article 50. We're talking about extending, Lorraine, the date on which we leave. And my view is it gives us a chance to get a Brexiteer Prime Minister and maybe what we want. Lorraine, your point about the party is very, very well made. Andy in Leatherheads is a new caller. Good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. How are you?
Welcome to the show. I'm well, thank you. So is extension worse than Mrs May's treaty? I mean, which way round is it, Andy?
It's extension. I mean, extension at least leaves the option of a proper leaving on the table, doesn't it?
It does.
Theresa May's deal doesn't. Theresa May's deal, effectively, it's the most dangerous and toxic piece of legislation ever placed before a British Parliament. It treats one part of the Union differently to the rest of the Union.
Yeah.
It's no wonder the DUP, don't like it. I mean, quite simply, Northern Ireland could be hived off from the Union. It's outrageous.
Well, I think
it has to go.
I have to say, Andy, I think that if this treaty did go through, I think in the end there'd be a growing number of people in England who'd say, well, the hell with it, let's just get rid of Northern Ireland. I mean, I can see that because, we literally, the rest of the UK would be trapped in a customs union on account of not giving Northern Ireland a different constitutional status. So, Andy, extend and fight another day, yeah?
The DUP are more British than the English. It's unbelievable, To treat them differently to the rest of the Union is the biggest problem with May's deal,
Yeah,
people like Rees-Mogg, I'll go back to May. The first thing she ever said as Prime Minister is, I am, and not a lot of people know this, a member of a party called the Conservative and Unionist Party of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So she talked the talk on unionism. But in the 3 years since this deal, People Parliament doesn't walk the walk on.
Do you know, Andy, she talked the talk as Home Secretary. She talked the talk as Prime Minister. She never, ever walks the walk. Andy, thank you for your call. Craig says, let's be honest, Nigel, it boils down to this. The people could never beat the government. Craig, I'm not having that. I'm just not having that. And even if it appears to us right now that they've ignored our will, and that they've beaten us, they haven't beaten us. This is not over. There are going to be more battles to fight, and we are going to win them. Just look at that polling I showed you, where no deal now is the most popular view in the country. I also think people's disgust with party politics, and in many ways with our leaders, means there's going to be big change coming in this country. Brexit is going to happen, just not now. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:30 in time for the news with Lisa Aziz.
MPs are to put forward their favoured Brexit options for debate after voting last night to let Parliament take control of the process. The Speaker of the House will then decide which ones will go forward tomorrow. Commons leader Andrea Leadsom says she still hopes there will be a third vote, though, on Theresa May's EU withdrawal deal this week. Empire star Jussie Smollett says he has been truthful and consistent after all charges against him were dropped. The US actor had been accused of hiring two men to carry out a racist and homophobic attack on him in Chicago and lying to police. Theresa May is going to host a major summit about knife crime. Experts will gather at Downing Street on Monday to see what can be done to tackle the problem. 20 people have been stabbed to death in London so far this year. LBC weather, cloudy skies tonight for many places, with patchy rain continuing in northwest Scotland. Clearer though over the south with some frost, a low of -1.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. LBC.
Cross-party group of MPs is calling for bosses' pay to be linked to how much their staff earn. Luke Hilliard, director of the High Pay Centre.
The biggest component of CEO pay awards comes from massive bonuses and share incentives.
Well, that means the company's doing well.
But it means the company is doing well. Shouldn't you extend that to everybody?
I doubt the girl on the front desk is quite as committed as the boss of the entire company. He or she is working 8 days a week. The girl just turns up and makes the coffee.
If anything, it's the opposite way round.
Oh my God, that is such cobblers.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero, get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC.
I'm Peter Jones. I've worked with many businesses. They're all different. So why be shoehorned into accounting software that treats all businesses the same? Sage Business Cloud is different. It fits your business's ever-changing needs, like preparing for making tax digital. With Sage, you're good to go. Business is about making wise choices. It's about being sage.
Be ready for making tax digital. Sign up for a free MTD consultation at sage.com/MTD.
Highways England is here to improve your journey. Have you noticed the red X's above you when driving on the motorway? Think they're not important? Think again. They mean there's an obstruction or danger up ahead. So if you see one, you must change lanes safely to avoid a penalty, or even worse. So when you see a red X, it's there for a reason. For more information on red X's, search online for smart motorways.
There's a new way to report non-emergency incidents or crimes to the Met Police.
So if you've seen or been in a... or you've been the victim of a... maybe your... has been stolen, you can report it online at met.police.uk. It's quick, it's more convenient, and it's handled by the same team who answer our calls. Incident or crime? Tell us online. Metropolitan Police Service.
The great British weather. One day you're cozying in with the family, the next you're chilling out in the garden. But whatever you're doing, Trusted Trader are always on hand to help. TrustedTrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable, unlike the weather. So for roofers who stop the rain coming in, gardeners for when the sun comes out, and other professionals in their trade, simply visit TrustedTrader.com.
Okay, listen up. Mr. Intel?
Ladies and gentlemen, I introduced the Vonage business phone system. You can make and receive calls on your laptop or smartphone using one business landline number.
One number on all your devices?
Yes, all of them. Never miss a call again and always look professional, anywhere, anytime.
Okay, let's do this.
Make Vonage part of your entourage. A business-ready phone system from just £9 a month. To find out more, go to vonage.co.uk. Terms apply.
Vonage. Sounds like good business to me.
Your business has come this far, but now's your time to soar into the skies of spectacular with a fast, affordable Funding Circle business loan. With decisions in as little as 24 hours and a dedicated account manager, there's no waiting around. So join the thousands of businesses who have taken out a Funding Circle loan and help your business fly. Apply today at fundingcircle.com. Authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. T's and C's apply.
If, like me, you own a micro business or run a charity with a van or minibus that's polluting the air, you might want to listen up. I've just been told about the Mayor of London's new scrappage scheme. They said I could receive £3,500 if I scrap my van, which I could then use to trade up to a new Euro 6 vehicle. Or £6,000 if I scrap my van, which includes £2,500 towards the running costs if I go electric. I said to them, if this is going to help improve the toxic air for my children, then I'm in. So, when I get home, I'm going to search scrappage scheme to see if I'm eligible. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Go compare! Their unbiased information could save billions across the nation. Proudly independent, free and fair.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg. The Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
So today, a bit of a split, really, in the Eurosceptic camp, because Sammy Wilson writes in the Telegraph Online, there are some colleagues who I greatly admire and who have stood firmly with us in defending Northern Ireland, who now take the view that the withdrawal agreement, even though it is a rotten deal, is better than losing Brexit. To them I say, if the deal goes through, we've lost our right to leave the EU. If we sign up to it, we give away our right to leave to the whim and dictates of the EU. That is not Brexit. But of course, you know who he's talking about. He's talking about Jacob Rees-Mogg. And Jacob says the choice seems to be between Mrs May's deal or no Brexit. You know, and he says, I've always thought no deal is better than Mrs May's deal, but Mrs May's deal is better than not leaving at all. And I kind of feel that's a slightly false choice, Jacob, because I kind of think actually what we're talking about here isn't cancelling Brexit, it's postponing the date at which it happens. So, is an extension better than Mrs May's? And we really all must stop calling it a deal. It's not a deal, it's a new European treaty. Karen is a new caller from Flintshire from, is it Hawarden, Karen?
It's pronounced Harden.
Right, OK, well I'm very pleased I asked. Welcome to the show. What do you make of it today?
Thank you for taking my call. I can see Jacob Rees-Mogg's point of view. I can see both sides. What I do feel, though, about Jacob is he's an honourable man. And I know that he deeply, deeply, deeply wants to see this country independent again. So I find it really hard to get annoyed with him. However, I just feel as though the Prime Minister has just betrayed us all. But not only just over Brexit. She's made such a mess of this that now we're looking at a Jeremy Corbyn government, and that scares me to death.
Well,
back to the power of the unions, back to strikes. getting rid of our nuclear deterrent. I mean, this country will be a mess.
Well, I don't think the Labour Party would allow him to get rid of the nuclear deterrent. I also don't think, Karen, that at the moment, I'm not even sure he'd win a general election, because the Labour Party have got some huge splits too, haven't they?
Having said that, things are a lot closer between the two parties now than they were during the last general election when she took the big gamble. And look how many points they made up. Having said that, if the Conservative MPs, I have to say, are the same as the Conservative MP in my area, I never saw hide nor hair of him. Yet, even on polling day, I was having stuff from the Labour Party being put through my letterbox. I didn't see my local Conservative representative for the whole of the run-up to the election.
I mean, so you would not welcome a general election then, Karen?
Absolutely not. No. Having said that, I don't think at the end of an extension we'll get Brexit. I honestly don't. I think this is an exercise in trying to grind us down. And while we're doing this, while we're extending, business is suffering. All you're doing is prolonging the agony.
Karen, I agree with you. I want to leave on Friday, Karen. Of course I do. But I'm, for the sake of this debate tonight, assuming that Mrs May pretty much ruled that out with all the things that she said yesterday. Karen, let me put this to you. At least with extension, there's a chance of getting rid of this Prime Minister, putting a Brexiteer in charge and pressing the reset button. Surely that's worth a go.
Do you think Philip Hammond will let that happen?
Well, in the end, it's Conservative MPs that will whittle it down to a choice of two, and it is the Conservative Party membership that will choose. And do you know what, Karen? Actually, I think in those circumstances, you probably would get a pro-Brexiteer.
I hope so, because, we've been... I mean, I physically feel as though I've been punched in the stomach. I feel so betrayed. I was so excited when the result came through in our favour, and I'm just absolutely disgusted.
It's pretty awful, isn't it?
It is really dire. It really is. And I just feel as though Europe are laughing at us.
Oh, no, Karen, it's not Europe laughing at us. The whole world's laughing at us. And I'm afraid that's the position she's put us in. Karen, thank you for the call. Thank you for that passion. Annie in Norwich says the Speaker will decide what ideas go forward. Well, that's leave done for. He'll pick each one that keeps us in the EU. Well, he'll do his very best to. David in Acton asks the question, would the extension come without strings that Remainers and the EU can exploit? Well, that is a good question. And clearly there'd have to be some negotiation over that. And they, of course, because they're rather better at it over on this side than we are, would try and put some strings on it. I'm sure they would, David, but I repeat the point. We can get rid of this Prime Minister and press the reset button. If we go for her treaty, we are trapped. Tom is calling from Bounds Green, a new caller. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, hi there, yeah. Well, I'd rather an extension, since that's the question. But
yes,
the thing is, it only needs one of the EU 27 to object, and we don't get the extension. So it's a bit of a wishful thinking.
Yeah, possibly. So Tom, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be speaking in the European Parliament, and we've got Tusk there, we've got Juncker there. I don't think Barnier's there tomorrow, but those two are certainly there. What should I say, Tom? What could I do? What could I say to make them want to veto us?
Well, I mean, I actually hope, what's her name, Theresa May stays, because she increases the chance of her deal not getting through. But because I don't know what you say to the
it's difficult, isn't it?
EU at all. But I mean, I'm not sure we're going to get a Brexit leader of the Conservatives. You're saying about getting rid of Theresa May, and I mean, her leaving is a bit like the Titanic captain saying, "Well, I'm going to crash the ship into the iceberg, but after I've crashed, I'll resign." And then you can appoint a sensible captain, and then everyone else saying, "Oh, okay, then we'll accept that." Let's not crash into the iceberg in the first place. I.e., this deal, which is treaty, as you call it.
Yeah, well, it is a treaty. No, Monsieur Barnier told me it's a treaty. I believe Monsieur Barnier. Tom, if this treaty doesn't get passed, we haven't hit the iceberg, have we?
That's my view. But my worry is that the problem is the Parliamentary Conservative Party, as you just said, choose the two candidates who end up on the final ballot. Now, if Boris or Jacob Rees-Mogg was on the final ballot, they'd win it hands down. But the Parliamentary Conservatives, I believe, will do everything they can to keep those two off the final ballot. I mean, Boris would be the obvious choice. I don't think Jacob particularly wants to be Prime Minister. So, but Boris may not end up being on the final ballot.
No, that's right. You're absolutely right. Those MPs will pick him. There's no guarantee. Tom, there's no guarantee with any of this. Thank you for your call. Wayne says, extension, the way to go. May would have no way of avoiding the pressure that's growing for her to be replaced. And Wayne, I do actually think that's right. I think the men in grey suits would come for her pretty damn quickly. Andrea says, no deal is now dead in the water. Article 50 extended. Mog betrayed, vote leave. Not a done deal. Well, you know, Jacob wants Brexit. Jacob loves the Conservative Party and believes that keeping that together is the best thing for the future of our country. But I do suspect that when he's doing this slot on Friday, one or two of you might just have some questions for him. I'm a big Jacob fan. I wasn't particularly a fan of what he said today. John is calling from Murcia down in southeast Spain, a new caller. Hi, John.
Hiya. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
You're one of those people supposed to be terrified of Brexit because you're living in Spain, but it's not quite like that, really, is it?
No, you talked about Project Fear earlier. I have actual fear.
Do you?
Because I've spent 15 years building up an insurance business, which effectively was going to close on Thursday. And so perhaps you could tell me what I should be looking forward to be able to continue my business, because I can't see anything at the moment.
So what, the Spanish want you to make everybody redundant, do they? Or
have you not heard of the financial passport?
Yes. And I've also heard of, I've also heard, John, of financial equivalence, which works as well. And isn't the point, John, what I was arguing for was leaving on WTO terms, invoking Article 24, and having 2 years to sort all that out, and to sort all of that out in a new free trade deal. So, in a sense, John, with this particular situation, extension doesn't bother you immediately, does it?
Yes, of course it does, because under WTO rules, the Financial Conduct Authority has basically said any companies operating from Europe in the UK will have a transition period of 3 years to get over to the regulations. Europe hasn't reciprocated in that respect. And also, that even that ruling on its own is contrary to WTO rules, because you can't give more favourable terms to one country than another within the WTO. There is an exception within the financial services to avoid, the collapse of financial services, but that would really be viewed. Any country in the world could object to that and say, well, okay, we're restricted. But anyway, Europe hasn't reciprocated as yet.
As yet. John, one thing we have seen over the course of the last few weeks with all the no-deal planning, not that it's going to come to pass, is actually a great degree of reciprocity between us and them. There's still more to do. The Governor of the Bank of England, John, said 80% of it was sorted. Just quickly on our question tonight, I sense your concern. Would you rather that Mrs May's new European treaty went through? Would that reassure you?
Oh, certainly not, no, because I don't think that would solve my problem. Certainly not. I mean, I keep hearing people talking about project fear, but this is actual fear that after 15 years a business could just close through no fault of my own. I heard a caller earlier going on about the Queen. Well, the last king that tried that interfering, it didn't fare well for him.
He did lose his head,
My point is that there are genuine concerns, and they all seem to be dismissed.
No, John, John, so much of this has been dealt with. So much of this, as the Governor of the Bank of England says, 80% of this has been dealt with. But you're not going to face this immediately, because we're not leaving on Friday on WTO terms. And, John, I really am out of time. You listen to the Nigel Farage Show. It's now 6:47. Time for the news headlines with Lisa Raziz.
MPs are to put forward their favoured Brexit options for debate in the Commons tomorrow after voting last night to let Parliament take control of the process. Empire star Jussie Smollett says he has been truthful and consistent after all charges against him over staging a racist attack were dropped. Number 10's called the abuse suffered by England's footballers in Montenegro last night completely unacceptable. LBC weather, cloudy skies this evening for many places, rain continuing in northwest Scotland, clearer over the south, a low of -1.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Knight, and the clockwise M25 shut at the moment, still from 28 at the A12 to 29 for the A127, following a serious accident. Just looking at the closure point at junction 28, it looks like they're about to let some traffic through past the scene. 2 lanes still will be closed at the scene of the accident, but it does look like they're about to let traffic past the scene now. So hopefully it's about to reopen shortly. Restrictions will still be in place. There are still massive delays on the M11, the A12, the A13, the North Circular and the A127. Just off the M11 at junction 7, the A414 is shut with an accident. The A12's queuing out of town from Bow to the Greenman Tunnel at Leytonstone after an earlier accident. And on the trains, there are severe delays on London Overground from Euston to Willesden Junction and severe delays on the Bakerloo line.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
On the show tonight, a former minister, a former prime minister, a former Lib Dem cabinet minister, a former clerk to the House of Commons. One day I'll be a former presenter, I suppose.
Ian Dale on LBC.
Word in the woods is that 3 little pigs are looking to sell their homes quick. They seem to be in a spot of bother with the big bad wolf called Rick.
Come out, little piggies!
So they spoke to the friendly team at Property Rescue, who can offer a guaranteed sale in as little as 48 hours at a fair price and a cash advance if you need one. Fast forward to living happily ever after. Visit propertyrescue.co.uk. Property Rescue. Fast forward to sold.
Buying workshop delights and travelling to meetings off-site. The client wants lobster for tea and then there's a conference across the sea. Fancy client biscuits, last-minute train tickets, light bulbs, booking flights, meeting snacks, black cabs. You do the maths. Say hello to Soldo. All expenses paid. Prepaid business expense cards for you and your team, so no one has to spend their own money at work. And Soldo connects seamlessly with Xero. A win-win for you and your business. Find out more at soldo.com.
Let's go through the numbers.
Yes, with the Vonage business phone system, you can make unlimited calls to UK landlines, UK mobiles, and even international numbers, all for one low price.
Unlimited calls. Amazing.
Shall we?
Okay, let's do this.
Make Vonage part of your entourage. A business-ready phone system with unlimited call plans from £12 a month. To find out more, go to vonage.co.uk. Unlimited calling applies to standard UK landline numbers. Terms apply.
Vonage. Sounds like good business to me.
Love your skin. Love your hair. Love your nails. Perfectil delivers nutritional support from within, including zinc, to help you maintain normal skin, hair and nails. Perfectil, the science of beauty, from Vitabiotics, the UK's #1 vitamin company, from Boots, pharmacies and vitabiotics.com.
If you have high blood pressure, please listen closely. If you struggle to control your blood pressure with tablets and are taking 3 or more blood pressure medications, you may be interested in a new clinical research study at St Bart's Hospital in London. The study is evaluating a device-based procedure to lower blood pressure and potentially reduce or eliminate the need for blood pressure medications. To learn more, please visit www.bpstudy.org.uk. That's www.bpstudy.org.uk.
Oracle Cloud helps organisations everywhere build their tomorrow today, like the World Bee Project. With bee populations falling, we could face a global food crisis. Oracle Cloud provides new insights into the reasons behind this decline. With Oracle Cloud, the World Bee Project helps to protect pollinators, people, and the planet. Find out more at oracle.com/UK. Oracle Cloud, your tomorrow today.
You know your business, what keeps you up at night, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. You know your 5-year plan, and that you really want to be there in 2. We know we can help you get there. Barclays offers unsecured loans of up to £100,000 that can be with you in days or even hours. To apply for a loan that's right for your business, search Barclays Business Loans. Let's go forward. Subject to status, T's and C's apply, guarantee may be needed.
Everyone's talking about the ISA tax allowance deadline on April the 5th, how time is running out.
But at Vitality, we've got more to say, because our ISAs and junior ISAs have a little more oomph. Invest in Vitality funds and on top of any returns, we give you bigger and bigger boosts every 5 years, up to 15% over 25 years. Just search Vitality Invest ISA. Vitality, positively different. Capital at risk, T's and C's apply. All tax rules may change in future.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg. The Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
So what should I say tomorrow morning to Tusk and to Juncker and perhaps Barnier if he's there too, to try and hasten a veto to any extension and us leaving with no deal? I get a text here that says, tell the EU tomorrow you can't wait to take part in the European elections and destroy them from the inside out. I don't know who sent that, but that was kind of the way I was thinking, to be absolutely honest with you. But assuming that isn't going to happen, Sammy Wilson has really fired this huge broadside saying he'd much rather have an extension than have Mrs May's treaty. He was going to come on the show. He tweeted about coming on the show. Now, I don't know what's happened. Is it one of the Tory whips has locked him in a cupboard? Is there some discord within the DUP? I don't know. I doubt it. I think they are pretty solid on this. We haven't got him, but we have got you, and that's what matters an awful lot more. Sam in Isleworth is a new caller. Good evening, Sam.
Good evening, Nigel.
So, do you think extension would be less of an evil than Mrs May's treaty, or the other way around?
I actually think that we should take the deal now. I was actually in mind to go with no deal for a long while. I'm not any kind of affiliate of any party. I've voted for Conservative, for Labour, and even the Lib Dems, actually.
Okay, so, you are the classic floating voter.
I really am. So I will look at what they stand for before I vote for them. But I just think that you have to build bridges now, and I think the country is so divided that an extension will just not. I think the Leave voters are just going to start to fiddle away. Really, I think you might think an extension will, a general election will probably get everyone in arms again and fired up. But I think most people might lose hope at that point and just think, what's the point?
No, Sam, that is a very real risk, and there's so many people saying, actually, I may never vote again. And I suspect there are more Leave voters potentially saying they'll never vote again than there are Remain voters. So maybe that's a tactic from the other side. Sam, the argument is that we accept this new treaty and at least we've left the European Union. The problem is. I
think the thing is, it's just the doorway. If you just think, you go through the doorway, look at the world on the other side, look at this trade deal. If you can focus on what we could have, try to build bridges with the rest of the world, including the developing world. You can actually speak to all these Remainer MPs, as you'd like to say, and say, well, everything you stand for, you can actually really fight for. In trading with people around the world, you can have everything you believe in terms of employment rights, women's rights, everybody's rights.
Sam, I want to do all of that, but here's the problem. The next phase we go into, the other side, the European Union, don't have to give us anything. Literally, they don't have to give us anything. We'll be at their mercy. And if you think the country is divided over the European question now, I promise you, with Mrs May's treaty, it'll get even worse in the next 2 years.
I mean, it's a risk, but it's a risk the other way. And I think that if you were to lose that risk, you would never have, in probably any of our lifetime, another chance to have. I mean, nobody's going to put another referendum up to the people ever again because they know people will vote. There is a risk of voting no again. So therefore, it's a lifetime chance now. And I think Jacob probably sees that. And I think if you put your hat on of common sense here and think there is a chance, at least with that, to fight another day for the deal that really matters for everybody's life. I can't see any Labour or Liberal Democrats MPs standing up and saying, well, actually, I don't believe in that, because really it's a very liberal way to trading with everybody in the world, and helping the developing world is actually a good thing.
But Sam, I want to do that. Trade, not aid. I want to do that. I think it's monstrous that we put all these tariffs on flowers and green beans that come from Africa. We could make the cocoa products too. We can make their lives much better, but we can't do it until we're freed from the EU's customs union. And Sam, I'm arguing with you that Mrs May's treaty means we may never leave it.
I think if she can change hands, if she does agree to go, I think she's worked really hard, but I think she's been too blinkered. So she really needed to bring everybody on at the beginning and then maybe fiddle her deal through in a more constructive way, leaving that no deal on. But we are where we are. So therefore, the only way I see us going through to get a Brexit was to go for her deal. And if we do get stuck with the EU in the later stages and they won't release us, I don't think the people of this country, and with the general election, with a very clear idea of what we want in this country to benefit us and those around us, I can't see how the EU can hold us hostage, really, without some repercussions.
Well, because we would have signed an international, legally binding treaty. Sam, I don't agree with you, but you've argued your point extremely well, and I thank you for your call. Andrea on Facebook says, no deal is now dead in the water. Article 50 extended. John says, our politicians are a disgrace. Lots of ego and ambition, but not much integrity or even political ability. Can we get rid of them and start all over again? Well, maybe, John, a general election would give us that opportunity. I don't know. Irene in Scotland says, Nigel, it takes a lot to make me angry, but right now I could punch holes in doors. As a law-abiding, decent, tax-paying citizen, I expect to get what I voted for, nothing less. Just like Macron, they put the EU before their own country. All parties will lose millions of votes. It will hit them. Well, we go on tomorrow to the indicative votes in the House of Commons. MPs taking control after the Letwin Amendment. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be here at 6 o'clock with you. I'll have spoken to Tusk and Juncker in the morning. Tonight, later on at 10 o'clock, it's Tom Swarbrick. But next, it's Ian Dale.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Well, coming up on the programme today at 8 o'clock on our Tuesday interview, we're going to be joined by Lord Lisvane, the former clerk to the